everyone, I'm Hannah and I'm going to take you through a really nice hip opener flow today. Making sure that your hammock is just underneath your hip bones when you're pushing into the fabric with your palms. It can be a little bit lower than you might normally need to. We will be doing an inversion, but it's one that's okay if you're a little bit lower. Firstly, we're going to come behind our fabric and bring on a bind. So we're going to bring our hands in front of the fabric, cutting through the middle and placing your hands onto the fabric and rolling them down until they're about shoulder width apart. And from here, placing your feet about hip width apart, just behind the rigging point. And we're going to take a deep inhale through the nose and exhale out through the mouth and release all the way forward, hinging at the hips, extending our arms out in front of us. Nice long line from our head all along our back. And from here, we can start to sway side to side as we really release into this first pose. Feeling that really nice shoulder stretch. Just waking up your body. If you've been sitting at a desk or you just woke up, or if you've been running around all day, just little sways from side to side. This is one of my favorite, most simple stretches. Bringing our torso back to the middle. Let's arch up with our spine, pushing into the fabric with your nice straight arms, coming into our cat stretch. And then exhaling out, dipping down, releasing into our cow. So with your own breath, you can push up into your cat and release back into your cow. Continue like this for a few more breaths, moving whichever way your body needs you to. Might look different from me, might look different from a friend of yours. We're just going to do what our body needs today. And in our last inhale, let's roll it all the way back up, one vertebrae at a time, until our head is the last thing that comes up. And let's release our hands from that bind. We're going to come into our first forward fold. So bringing our hands into the fabric, tuning your torso underneath the rigging point. You can keep your hands around hip height or you can let them fall forward, whatever feels good for you. Take a deep inhale and exhale, roll our body one vertebrae at a time, all the way down. You can bend your knees if that feels good for you. Bringing your hands or your fingertips to the floor or to your shins, wherever they may fall. And pedal out the knees, bending one knee at a time. Just feeling in to our hamstrings and our calves. Maybe grabbing a hold of our elbows and swaying from side to side, letting our head relax. Maybe you're nodding your head yes, maybe you're shaking your head no. Just release. One more breath here. And releasing our hands to the earth. From here, we're going to come into a downward dog. So we want to make sure that the fabric stays underneath our hip bones. So you can hinge at the hips, and if it works best for you, you can push into the fabric, bending your knees so that your body weight comes into the fabric. Bringing your hands to the earth and walking your legs back into a downward dog. So you should feel your body weight in the fabric underneath your hip bones. Pedaling out the feet here. You're pushing into the earth with your fingers spread. Bringing your sit bone to the sky. Your chest to your thighs. Really deep breaths here. Okay, making sure that your fabric is under your hip bones is really, really important for this next part. Otherwise, it will really hurt. So, in this position, you should be able to put all your weight into the fabric. If you're not here yet, holding yourself up, that's totally fine. Bring your hands to the earth just underneath your shoulders. Bring your knees in, coming into a little ball. So from here, you can extend your arms out in front of you, and we're just going to sway our hips from side to side. This might be a little bit uncomfortable, but it's a really good massage in the hips, and you're stretching out your shoulders as well, which is always nice. So a few more little sways here, feeling that deep massage, feeling the fabric against your body. Coming back to the center, we're going to move our hands underneath our shoulders one more time, releasing our legs into a wide straddle. So from here, there are a wide straddle behind us. We're going to bend our knees, and they're going to come outside of the fabric. So not inside, our feet are going to come on the outside of the fabric and hook on. So from here, you can walk your hands forward, take a deep inhale, and exhale, release it all out. You can also move your knees from side to side if you want a bit more of a side stretch here. Just releasing into this fabric, into this really nice pose, your first inversion. Two more breaths here. And bringing your legs back to the center, bringing your hands underneath your shoulders. And from here, you can release one leg to the ground. So release your right leg to the ground. And here we're in our three-legged dog. So in this pose, we're pushing in as if you were in a downward dog. Push into your arms, into your hands, pushing your sit bones to the sky. And that one leg that's in the fabric still, making sure that if you're keeping it in this position, we're moving out so our knees are closer together. So it's not coming out to the side like this, it's coming in. And from here, if this is enough for you, that's totally fine. This is where you can stay. There is an option to push your foot up the fabric into a true three-legged dog. So from here, the aim is to bring this foot, the standing foot forward into a flat foot, and your chest to the standing thigh. Can be a little bit hard, but that's what we're working towards. Take a few deep breaths here. Really feeling that stretch. If you're in the true three-legged dog, bringing that leg back down. And everyone, let's release that foot to the ground and pedal it out in your downward dog. Nice work. And from here, if it's easiest for you to go into the wheelbarrow that we were in before, feel free. Otherwise, if you have the flexibility, you can come into your downward dog, release the foot into the air, and bring that around into our three-legged dog one more time. Otherwise, the other option was to, again, bring your legs into that wide straddle, bending both of the legs, bringing the fabric around to the outside, and then releasing the foot. So these are our two options of how we can get into our three-legged dog. So from here, you can either stay with our floating knee bent, or you can breathe in and extend it all the way back up into our true three-legged dog. Taking a few deep inhales and exhales here. See if you can hop that foot a little bit forward, bringing your chest a little bit closer to your thigh. Two more breaths. And let's release that foot down if you had it in a true three-legged dog. And then release it all the way down and walking our feet to our hands and hanging one more time in a ragdoll. Holding on to both your elbows and swaying from side to side. Coming back to the center, and let's slowly roll all the way back up until our head is the last thing that comes up. So now we're going to start with a few standing stretches that are really going to get into our hips now. So bringing your left foot into the fabric, so you can bring it either to the base of your foot or to your ankle. The ankle is a little bit easier for balance. So extending our leg out, making sure that our hips are aligned, taking a deep inhale through the nose, arms come nice and high above us, and exhale, holding onto the fabric and running our fingers down. Keeping our back as flat as possible, hinging at the hips and extending forward, pushing into the fabric, coming over our floating leg. So the idea here is to bring our chest to our thigh as much as possible without rounding our back, trying to keep as upright and as flat as possible. Pointing or flexing that foot in the fabric, just keeping it nice and intentional. Pushing into the fabric, and you can add a few little pulses here if that feels good for you. I really like to keep my stretches as dynamic as possible. Just makes me feel like I'm getting a little bit further with every pulse. A few more breaths here. See if every exhale you can get a little bit further, inch your body a little bit closer to your floating leg. Really getting into the hamstrings here. And let's slowly roll all the way back up to a standing. So from here, you're going to grab a hold of the fabric with your left hand. We're going to open and close that hip. So open it all the way out and close it. So a few breaths here. You can bring that leg as far as it'll go this way and as far as it'll go towards the wall. Just seeing if you can keep your whole body straight except for that leg and that arm that's moving. Can be quite hard. If you want a little bit of a challenge, you can release that hand. See if it's just the leg that it's moving. Well, a little bit harder. Okay. One more breath here. And then we're going to bring that leg all the way out to the side. I'll just hop so you guys can see. All the way out to the side. So you're going to push into the fabric, flipping our hand on our right side, coming all the way up over, grabbing a hold of the fabric and pushing into the fabric. So here, you can stay at a 90-degree angle, or if you'd like a little bit more of a split stretch, you can extend all the way out into your split if you have a split. Otherwise, you can stay back up here and push into it as a side stretch. So you should be feeling it all the way up here. Making sure that we're not facing the silk, we're pushing in, we're facing the front of the room. So a few more breaths here. You can also pulse in on this side if that feels good for you. Making sure that you're not hyperextending your knees. You can add a little bend to that standing leg if that is needed for you. A few more breaths. And on our next inhale, releasing that top hand and bringing the fabric back to the front. I'm just going to hop again. So from here, you're going to bring your fabric to the back of your knees. Back of your knee, just your left knee. And flexing or pointing that foot, just make sure we're intentional with it. Bring our hands nice and high, taking a deep inhale, and then we're going to exhale it forward, releasing into the fabric. Hands are really high. You can add a little back bend if that feels good for you. Otherwise, you can keep your neck neutral, We're coming onto the ball of that back foot, keeping the standing leg really nice and straight and strong, holding you. Abs engaged so that you don't sway. This is a really beautiful one. Feels so good in the hips. So staying here for a few more breaths. Maybe seeing if you can arch a little bit more in the last few breaths. Adding that back bend or releasing your body a little bit further into the front leg, that right hip. Last breath here. We're going to release our left hand from the fabric, bring our torso through, and we're going to place our right leg down so that our foot is facing towards the wall. So you're bringing your right hand through, so your whole torso is through. Your right hand is grabbing onto the closest pole, and your left hand is grabbing down towards your foot. So your shoulder should be in front of your knee. And releasing here. Keeping either a neutral neck or gazing towards the ceiling. Whatever feels best for you. A few more breaths here. See if you can release just a little bit further. One more breath. And holding on to with our top hand, bringing our left hand up and pulling our torso through, turning our back foot towards the opposite wall and pulling back up to a standing. Nice work. So we're going to turn it around and do it all on the other side. So you can either flip your feet, change your feet in whatever way feels best for you, or if you want to come with me, we can hold our hands nice and high, put all our weight into the fabric, adding our right knee in, letting ourselves just hang out here for a moment, and then releasing our left leg down. So then we flipped our feet. So bringing the fabric to our ankle of our right foot. And here, I'm going to take a deep inhale, bringing our hands over our head, and exhale, falling over our leg into our hamstring stretch on the other side. Again, trying our best not to round our back, keeping our torso nice and straight, and pushing into the fabric, bringing our chest to our thigh. You can pulse it forward and back if that feels good for you, and point or flex that foot if you want a little bit more. Take a few deep breaths here. See if every exhale you can release a little bit further, get a little bit closer to the floating leg. One more breath. And let's roll it all the way back up. Nice, you're gonna hold on to the fabric. I'm going to do a few hops, holding onto the fabric, and we're going to open and close that hip. So open it and close it. See if that can be the only thing that's moving. Maybe you'll test yourself, see if you can release your hands. Otherwise, bringing that hand back on if it's needed. Just getting a little bit of movement into this hip. Probably feel a little bit of difference from one side of your body to the other, but we'll even that all out. A few more breaths here. Staying as strong as we can, nice and tall. And on our next inhale, let's come over to the right side. Ooh, you might need to do a little jump. And making sure that you're in line with the fabric. Pushing into the fabric with your right hand, flipping the left hand, bringing it up and over the fabric and pushing in. So So we're coming into this really nice side stretch one more time. And again, here you can add some pulses, or you can go all the way out into your split if that's here for you, depending what feels good. Otherwise, let's just keep it up here as a really nice side stretch. Let's add a few more breaths here. Maybe pulsing. Again, remember to be careful about your knees. If you need to add a little micro bend in either of your knees, that's totally fine. A few more breaths. And releasing that top hand. And we're going to turn to face the fabric. Or you can bring your foot to face your body, depending where you are. And from here, we're going to bring the fabric to the back of our knee. Once again, point or flex that foot. Bring our hands nice and high. We're going to come onto the ball of our bottom foot and release all the way forward into our high lunge, our floating lunge. And from here, you can add a little back bend if that feels good for you. Otherwise, keeping the neutral spine and releasing it forward. Really feeling it in this hip. A really nice stretch. See if you can release a little bit further. Two more breaths here. Okay, releasing our right hand from the fabric, bringing it through and our torso through the fabric. Sometimes you might need a little bit of help. Putting your left hand onto the front fabric. Shoulder comes in front of the knee, and we're going to place that foot back down. So your foot should be facing the wall in front of you. And extending it all the way down. Just releasing your shoulder down. Hand can push into the foot if that feels good. I'm going to bring it back. And eyes can be to the ceiling or straight ahead. See if you're holding any tension and you want to release a little bit further in to that fabric. Opening up the hips. Oh yeah, I did say it was a hip opener. Yeah, a few more breaths here. Keeping our abs engaged so we don't sway as much. And it's okay if we do. Two more breaths. Really releasing. See if you can get a little bit further in. Okay, holding on with the top hand, bringing your left hand to the fabric, and coming back through. Bringing the foot back onto the ball of the foot, and coming back up to a standing. And we're going to release that foot. Okay, we're going to come to another inversion. If you have never tried this inversion before, I really recommend that you have a friend or a partner or a parent or someone there to just oversee you so that you don't hurt yourself. Okay, so we're going to bring the fabric to the base of our right foot and bring our hands nice and high. You can extend that leg out and just hold on to the fabric and release your standing leg a few times, just to let yourself know that you can hold your own weight with your hands in the fabric. Some people get a little bit worried that their grip strength isn't strong enough, but it absolutely is. You'll be totally fine. So release out. You can do this as many times as you need if you're a little bit worried about it. So from here, we're going to bring our knee to the outside of the fabric. So your foot is planted into the fabric and your knee comes to the outside. Hands nice and high. And we're going to push into the fabric with our right leg and pull our left foot to meet the right. So they're going to be here together, and then both of our knees coming to the outside of the fabric. Bring your torso to meet the fabric. You're going to bring your left hand through the middle and bring your torso through the fabric. And then keeping your right hand where it is, bring your hands to a prayer. So you're in a really nice secure position here. This is our lotus pose. So as you can see, my feet are together, my legs are nice and wide, and my hands are in a prayer. You should feel quite stable here, pushing in to the fabric with your left shoulder, and then you're anchored in with your right shoulder on the opposite side. So you can just breathe in here a few times, slowing it down, feeling yourself sway, inhaling through the nose, and exhaling through the mouth. Let it all out. Let your whole body release into this lotus pose. And just breathe. If you're ready for our inversion, you can come with me. See, we bring our right arm and our right shoulder through the fabric. You can hold on to both of the poles if that feels good for you. And from here, you need to make sure that the fabric comes to the outside of your hip bones, so underneath your hip bones. I'm going to bring our hands on with our thumbs down. You really got to hold on to the fabric here. So you're going to pop one fabric over your hip bones one at a time, and then you can release all the way forward. Keeping your hands on the fabric if that feels good for you, if you feel secure. From here, you should be able, well, you are able to release your hands if that feels good for you. So, I'll show you a few different angles of what you can look like. This is our inverted lotus pose. Let yourself release, bringing your hands to the earth. And let's take a few inhales and exhales here. This may feel like a deep massage around your hips and around your ankles. This is all really good for you. You'll probably find that you'll sleep really well tonight. Creating space in our spine. And this is always also a really great pose for anxiety, reducing anxiety. This is one of my favorite go-tos. It's just a really nice releasing pose. And we're also opening up the hips and giving ourselves a little deep massage with the fabric as well. If at any point you need to come back up, bring your hands back onto the fabric, thumbs towards our backsides, and we're going to pull up, abs engaged, pull up, and bring one arm through the fabric, and the other arm through the fabric. Holding on here, you can let yourself just take it slow, each of these poses. You don't have to come all the way in and all the way out super quickly. Releasing our feet out and bringing them back down. I recommend that we come to this really nice release pose. So bringing the fabric onto a backpack. It should be just around your bra line or just in your top back area if you don't have a bra or you don't wear a bra. And bringing the fabric around the front of our shoulders. Hinging at the hips. And just releasing forward. So this is our really nice ragdoll pose. Just swaying from side to side. It's a really good counter pose, especially for inversions. Just letting ourselves hang out here and slow it all down. Take 2 more deep breaths here. Maybe you're shutting down the eyes, letting yourself slow it down and release. Coming back up to the center, let's slowly roll ourselves one vertebrae at a time, all the way back up to standing. I really recommend that if you have time, get yourself in a cocoon and just hang out there in Shavasana for 5 to 10 minutes at least. If you don't have time for that, thank you so much for coming to your mat today and to your hammock and opening up the hips. I hope you feel really open and have a great day.